I never expected my life to take such a drastic turn at the age of 32. Just a year ago, I was a successful marketing executive in Chicago, engaged to my high school sweetheart Rachel. We had our whole future mapped out, a beautiful wedding, buying our dream home, and starting a family together. But then everything changed when Rachel confessed to having an affair with her coworker, shattering my world into pieces. Devastated, I decided to leave the city that held so many painful memories. I quit my job and used my savings to move across the country to a small town in Oregon called Willow Creek. I needed a fresh start, a chance to heal and rediscover myself away from the chaos of the city. It was in Willow Creek that I met Sarah, a warm and kind-hearted woman who worked at the local diner. We quickly became friends, bonding over our shared love for hiking and exploring the great outdoors. Sarah was a few years younger than me, divorced with a teenage son named Tyler. As our friendship deepened, I found myself opening up to her about the betrayal I had experienced, and she listened without judgment, offering a compassionate ear. One night, after a particularly difficult day, when the memories of Rachel's infidelity haunted me, Sarah invited me over for a home-cooked meal. I accepted her offer, craving the comfort of good company. Little did I know that this simple dinner would mark the beginning of a profound shift in our relationship. As we enjoyed the meal together, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Sarah's warmth and empathy enveloped me like a soothing balm, and I found myself confiding in her even more deeply. She listened intently, her eyes filled with understanding, and for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness that had consumed me. In the weeks that followed, our bond grew stronger. We spent countless hours together, hiking through the lush forests, exploring hidden waterfalls, and sharing our dreams and fears. Sarah's gentle presence and unwavering support slowly mended the cracks in my heart, and I found myself falling for her in a way I never anticipated. However, our newfound closeness didn't come without its challenges. Tyler, Sarah's teenage son, was initially wary of my presence in their lives. He had witnessed the pain of his parents' divorce and was hesitant to let another man into their world. Tensions arose as he expressed his disapproval, often treating me with cold indifference or outright hostility. Caught in the middle, Sarah found herself torn between her blossoming feelings for me and her desire to protect her son's emotional well-being. She tried to bridge the gap, encouraging Tyler to give me a chance, but his resentment only seemed to deepen. The situation reached a boiling point one evening when Tyler stormed out of the house after a heated argument with Sarah about my involvement in their lives. Distraught, Sarah confided in me, tears streaming down her cheeks, expressing her fear of losing her son's trust and the guilt she felt for allowing our relationship to cause such turmoil. In that moment, I realized the weight of the decision before us. Should we pursue the connection that had brought us both so much healing and joy, risking further strain on Sarah's relationship with her son? Or should we sacrifice our own happiness for the sake of preserving the delicate family dynamic? The dilemma weighed heavily on us both, and we found ourselves at a crossroads, torn between the desires of our hearts and the responsibilities we held as parents. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and I had countless heart-to-heart conversations, trying to navigate the complexities of our situation. We both understood the importance of maintaining a healthy relationship with Tyler, but we couldn't deny the depth of our feelings for each other either. Sarah made every effort to include Tyler in our activities, hoping to ease his discomfort and show him that my presence didn't have to threaten the bond they shared. However, his resentment only seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. One afternoon, after a particularly tense exchange between Sarah and Tyler, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I invited the young man for a hike, just the two of us, hoping that some one-on-one time in the serene wilderness might help him open up and voice his concerns. At first, Tyler was reluctant, but he eventually agreed, perhaps sensing the sincerity in my request. As we trekked through the winding trails, surrounded by towering pines and the soothing sounds of a nearby stream, an uneasy silence settled between us. Finally, I broke the ice, acknowledging the elephant in the room. "Tyler, I know this situation hasn't been easy for you," I began, choosing my words carefully. "But I want you to know that I care deeply for your mom, and I would never do anything to intentionally hurt either of you." Tyler's expression hardened, and he shot me a skeptical look. "How can I believe that? You're just another guy who's going to end up breaking her heart. Just like my dad did. His words cut deep, revealing the root of his distrust, the fear of witnessing his mother's heartbreak once again. In that moment, I realized that his hostility stemmed from a place of profound love and protection. I took a deep breath and met his gaze with sincerity. I understand your skepticism, Tyler. Your mom has been through a lot, and you're just trying to shield her from further pain. But I promise you, my intentions are true. I would never purposefully hurt the woman who has brought so much light back into my life. As the words left my lips, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time, I had articulated the depth of my feelings for Sarah. Not just to Tyler, but to myself as well. This was more than a fleeting connection. It was a profound bond that had the potential to heal us both, if only we had the courage to embrace it. Tyler seemed to sense the shift in the air, his defenses gradually lowering as he studied my expression. You really care about her, don't you? He asked, his voice softer, laced with a glimmer of hope. I nodded, my heart swelling with emotion. More than you know, Tyler nodded slowly, considering my words. For a few moments, we walked in silence, the only sounds the crunch of leaves beneath our feet and the gentle rushing of the stream nearby. Finally, he spoke up again. I just don't want to see her get hurt again. After what my dad put her through. He trailed off, jaw clenching. I know, I said gently, and I can't begin to imagine how difficult that must have been for both of you. But I give you my word, I will never intentionally bring harm to your mom or your family. She's too precious to me. Tyler searched my face, as if trying to discern any hint of deception. When he found none, some of the tension seemed to leave his shoulders. Okay, I hear you. I'm sorry for being such a jerk about this whole thing. I shook my head. No need to apologize. Your protectiveness shows how much you love your mom. That's an admirable quality. A small smile tugged at the corner of Tyler's mouth. Yeah, well, she deserves it after everything. We fell into a comfortable silence then, continuing our hike through the serene forest. In that moment, I felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over me. Gratitude for this second chance at life and love, and for the opportunity to be part of Tyler and Sarah's world. As we made our way back home, I knew in my heart that while the road ahead might be winding, with Tyler's understanding and Sarah's unwavering love, we could navigate any obstacles that came our way. This was the fresh start I had been seeking, and I was determined to embrace it wholeheartedly. When we arrived back at Sarah's house, she greeted us at the door, her expression a mixture of concern and hopefulness. One look at our relaxed demeanors, and relief washed over her features. I take it the hike went well? She asked, a warm smile playing on her lips. Tyler and I exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between us. Yeah, he said, meeting my gaze. It did. As Sarah enveloped us both in a warm embrace, I knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with love, healing, and the promise of a brighter future together. The next few weeks passed in a blur of newfound happiness and connection. With Tyler's tentative blessing, Sarah and I allowed our relationship to deepen, spending nearly every free moment together. We went on picturesque hikes, took road trips to explore neighboring towns, and spent long nights talking and dreaming about the future. However, the path of love is rarely a straightforward one. Our Eden was disrupted when Rachel, my ex-fiancée, unexpectedly reached out to me. Her messages were filled with remorse and pleas for a second chance, claiming she had made the biggest mistake of her life. At first, I dismissed her attempts, but her persistence gradually wore me down. One night, after an evening of laughter and intimacy with Sarah, I found myself engaging with Rachel, allowing her to reopen wounds I thought had healed. Emotions I had suppressed came rushing back: the betrayal, the anger, the lingering love I still harbored for the woman I had planned to marry. Sarah immediately sensed the shift in my demeanor. With her trademark empathy, she gently pressed me to open up about what was troubling me. At first, I deflected, not wanting to burden her. But Sarah's unwavering patience eventually coaxed the truth out of me. The revelation about Rachel's contact shook Sarah to her core. Insecurities, she thought, she had overcome after her own divorce resurfaced. She questioned whether she was a fleeting rebound, someone to temporarily distract me from the pain of my past. Our once unshakable bond suddenly felt fragile. I did everything I could to reassure her, professing my love, recounting the ways she had changed my life. The aftermath was devastatingly painful. Sarah shut me out completely, refusing to take my calls or respond to my messages. In my desperate attempts to make amends, I even reached out to Tyler, hoping he could intercede on my behalf. But the young man's loyalty lay firmly with his mother. For weeks, I existed in a state of purgatory, my heart shattered into pieces once more. I spent lonely nights retracing the trails Sarah and I had once explored together, tortured by memories of the happiness I had so carelessly jeopardized. Then, one fateful morning, I received an unexpected call from Sarah's best friend, Lindsay. In a trembling voice, she informed me that Sarah had been in a terrible accident. A reckless driver had plowed into her car at a stoplight. Sarah was alive, but in critical condition at the hospital. Cold dread gripped my core as I rushed to the hospital, my mind racing with fears of losing the woman I loved before I could make things right. The sight of Sarah's battered body, hooked up to a dizzying array of machines, was nearly my undoing. In that bleak hospital room, holding her limp hand, every wrong word, every misplaced accusation from our fight came crashing down on me like a ton of bricks. How could I have been so blind, so reckless with something so precious? For the next agonizing week, I was a diligent vigil at Sarah's bedside, praying fervently for her to wake up, for a chance to pour my heart out and beg for her forgiveness. Tyler, his anger towards me temporarily overshadowed by his mother's grave condition, was never far from my side. Then, one miraculous day, Sarah's eyes fluttered open, her gaze immediately finding mine. In that moment, everything, the mistakes, the misunderstandings, the hurt, faded into insignificance. She was alive, and I had been granted the most precious of second chances. The road to her recovery was arduous, but I never left her side, save for the moments when she insisted I return home to rest. During those long days and nights in the hospital, we slowly pieced back together the tattered fragments of our bond. There were setbacks and painful conversations revisiting the turbulence that had nearly torn us apart. But we persevered, our love. Just when we thought the worst was behind us, another bombshell revelation tripped us up. During one of Sarah's routine doctor's visits, we received the shocking news that she was pregnant. Her initial reaction was one of pure joy. Sarah had always dreamed of having another child. But I was paralyzed with fear and uncertainty. In the nights that followed, I lay awake wrestling with a tangled knot of emotions. I loved Sarah with every fiber of my being, but the thought of raising a child filled me with trepidation. My own father had been absent for most of my childhood, and the lack of a stable paternal figure had left deep scars. What if I repeated that cycle of absenteeism with this new child? The prospect gripped me with cold dread. Sarah sensed my unease, but I initially deflected her concerns, not wanting to taint her happiness. But she saw right through my flimsy facade. With remarkable patience, she gently pried the truth out of me, and I finally unburdened the weighty anxieties that had been suffocating me. Instead of reacting with anger or hurt, Sarah enveloped me in her arms, her understanding stretching as far as her compassion. We had both endured our share of parental wounds, but she reassured me that we could break the pattern by being fully present parents who refused to repeat the mistakes of the past. Her words were a salve on the ragged parts of my soul, but the fear still gnawed at me in vulnerable moments. Sarah gave me the space and unconditional support I needed to work through these deep-seated doubts. Then, in a shocking turn of events, more turmoil found its way into our lives. Rachel, the ex who had triggered so much upheaval, unexpectedly appeared in Willow Creek, ingratiating herself into my work community under the guise of a fresh start of her own. At first, I decided to take the high road, extending politeness while keeping a firm emotional distance. But Rachel was unrelenting, growing increasingly bold in her attempts to reinsert herself into my life. She began sending incessant texts and leading voice messages that ranged from remorseful to manipulative. The stress of her interference began affecting my work and health. Sarah stood by me through it all, a steady anchor of support and reassurance. With her by my side, I felt emboldened to finally confront Rachel face to face and demand she respect the family I was building. The confrontation quickly devolved into an explosive altercation filled with bitter accusations and dredged up anguish from our failed relationship. In a moment of blind fury, Rachel turned viciously on Sarah, spewing venomous words that blamed her for destroying the lives we had carelessly planned together. Her vicious verbal assault was the final unforgivable act. I cut off all contact and sought a restraining order, unwilling to allow her toxic presence to encroach on the life I had so carefully reconstructed from the ashes of heartbreak. With Rachel finally ousted from our sphere, Sarah and I were able to focus all our energy on preparing for the arrival of our child and rebuilding our little family unit. Tyler, who had formed a tentative bond with me over our shared protectiveness of Sarah, became an eager soon-to-be big brother. When the day finally arrived and Sarah gave birth to our beautiful daughter, Lily, a profound sense of peace and rightness enveloped us all. As I cradled my newborn child in my arms, I knew that the turbulence, the upheaval, and the struggle to reach this point had all been worth it. Sarah and I had been forged and reforged by the flames of adversity. But like a sword tempered by fire, our bond had emerged tenaciously resilient and unbreakable. With Lily's arrival, the missing piece of our family puzzle had finally clicked into place, and I vowed to be the man, the partner, the father that this miraculous new chapter deserved. The months and years that followed were not without their challenges, of course.